wanted to shed light on the growing influence of China in the European Union. Authoritarian regimes ramping efforts to interfere and influence EU member states' policies and public opinion is now a reality under the microscope of the EU institutions. As we face challenges to the values, the security and the sovereignty of the whole Union, the Parliament created a special committee on foreign interference in all democratic processes in the European Union, including disinformation. Its final report shows the unprecedented phenomenon of foreign state and non-state actors, such as Russia and China, putting in place malicious activities through sophisticated methods to exert economic coercion, cyber espionage, repression, and spread of disinformation. In this regard, China's diplomacy through the work of warriors constantly attempts to deeply undermine the principle of reciprocity, especially when it comes to raw materials such as production of telephones, electric vehicles, or semiconductors. For this reason, I am very proud of the strong report focused on the security and defense implication of China's influence on critical infrastructure in the European Union, approved just yesterday in AFET. The report shows the strong support of the EP to Commission's proposal for the Union's supply chain resilience, along with gradually reducing the dependence on China by diversifying the sources of critical raw minerals and rare earth elements. Another area of primary interest underlying the report is the China's military-civil fusion strategy, which aims at strengthening the totalitarian regime and achieving military dominance, including areas like artificial intelligence, big data, 5G, nuclear and aerospace technology. Nonetheless, we should also recognize that this fusion is a serious concern. It is not news in the Chinese strategic policy, but more a revival which is closely monitored by the EU. All of these are clear attempts to compromise the EU national security, and it is of the utmost priority to mitigate EU vulnerability and to prioritize the safety and integrity of the EU, its citizens and residents. Over the last year, we have been witnessing a concerning escalation of attacks against dissident and the diaspora community, mainly Uyghurs, Tibetans, and Hong Kongers. All the speakers today experience reprisal on different levels and forms, including to their own physical safety, or by threatening the life of the family members and friends in China. A repression that is constantly used also on the people who escaped the re-education camps, like the brave women that I am honored to welcome you today. And all of this is totally unacceptable, and we all know that it is a crime against humanity. In October last year, I had the pleasure of hosting your colleagues from UNPO, who brought first-hand testimony of how Chinese reprisal in the EU is a systemic problem. But I am really confident that the EU can put in place an efficient instrument to target reprisal, starting from the urgent need of a coordinated action among the EU member states in both reinforcing the investigations among authorities, police, prosecution, and the justice services. And I am looking forward to listen your testimonies, and especially the suggestion of how to overcome these challenges. The EU has long been a beacon of democracy and the rule of law, and with coordinated effort we are able to protect the EU from shadow of external influence which won't manage to dim its light. So thank you very much for your commitment, for coming, and I am sure that we will do a good work together. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pina. Thank you everyone for being here today. We're going to hear some testimonies from people with different backgrounds from Hong Kong, Uyghur and Tibet, and also from Eleonora Mongelli, who's the Vice President of the FIDU. Eleonora, maybe I can begin with you to make an opening statement.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Yeah, good morning, everyone. On behalf of FIDU, I would like to express my warmest thanks to Vice President Pina Picerno for hosting this event. Today's conference is organized by FIDU, Italian Federation for Human Rights, with the World Uyghur Congress, and was made possible thanks to the valuable contribution of Mark Saba, human rights campaigner, who will be moderating this conference, and our distinguished speakers. So thank you so much for joining us today. The Russian war of aggression against Ukraine has showed us that many dependence on the European Union on authoritarian states undermines the protection of European core values and our stability. However, in recent years, the Chinese Communist Party has progressively extended its influence across European business, politics, civil society, universities, and media to advance its geopolitical ambitions. Since the global financial crisis, China has strategically invested in critical EU infrastructure, becoming an essential supplier of raw materials crucial for our defense and our agenda with regard to digital and green transition. And in this sense, Beijing's investments are leading to the real risk of a European over-dependence on China. And this is extremely worrying when it comes to safeguard human rights and national security. And I would like to make some examples. Considering the transition towards clean energies, essential industries driving this change heavily rely on systemic forced labor imposed by CCP on Uyghurs and other minorities in China. Experts call it modern slavery, forming a significant aspect of the Chinese government's extensive persecution of these people. This persecution includes mass detention, torture, forced sterilization, and forced separation of families. Our dependence on supply chains that are implicated in this state-sponsored forced labor scheme creates an unacceptable low-cost green transition for us. Similar methods are used against Tibetan minority. Recently, the UN experts warned against around 1 million Tibetan children being separated from their families and affected by Chinese forced assimilation policies. Hong Kong serves as a prime example of the impact of the Chinese influence on human rights. Following the pro-democracy protests, the CCP turned Hong Kong's legal system into an instrument of repression by challenging the independence of the courts, the legislative process, and law enforcement. The national security law enacted in 2020 has undermined Hong Kong's judiciary, suppressed civil society, shut down all political opposition, and blocked free media and freedom of speech. Pro-democracy activists, journalists, and lawmakers were arrested. Others fled the country. And in such context, the role of disinformation as a major tool of transnational repression is crucial. Freedom House labels China's transnational repression as the most sophisticated, global, and comprehensive worldwide. China employs various methods, including high-tech surveillance, abuse of Interpol mechanisms, and extradition agreements, intimidation, and kidnappings. Human rights organizations, FIDU included, have vastly reported this kind of abuses, as well as the complicity of global brands in forced labor in Xinjiang and the obstacle faced by human rights organizations when it comes to defend and protect the victims of these terrible abuses, also in our democratic countries, using transnational repression methods. So I'm truly honored today to have with us among our panel of experts some of the bravest activists who will share their invaluable testimonies. And I'm stopping here, so thank you so much. I pass the floor to Mark.
Thank you very much, Eleonora, and thank you to the FIU for arranging this important discussion. I'd like to invite our first speaker, Finn Lau, who's a pro-democracy activist from Hong Kong, one of the leading Hong Kong activists, certainly in the United Kingdom, and obviously now known around the world as one of the 8 Hong Kongers with a bounty on his head. So it's wonderful to be here in such prestigious company. Finn, if you could please take 6-7 minutes to make a statement. Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, testing. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer for organizing this amazing event to talk about Hong Kong, as well as Tibetan and Uyghurs, as well as those growing PRC influence inside the EU. So today, I would like to start with a very personal example of how transnational repression is affecting different dissidents or different human rights defenders. So in my case, back in July, I got a so-called bounty from the Hong Kong authorities as well as the Beijing regime because of my advocacy work for human rights and democracy in Hong Kong and other places. So since then, I have got I've lost counting of the number of arrest warrants issued by the Beijing authorities. And then, I would say I have faced so many questions, or maybe the most curious thing is that, from the journalists, are you afraid? Are you afraid? Are you scared of this international bounty, which is 1 million Hong Kong dollar, around 100,000 euros on my life? And my answer is no, I'm not afraid at all. And in many cases, so many journalists said that I'm too calm to when I answered that question. It's because I have seen the worst. I was attacked in London by some suspicious guys, which are highly likely related to the Chinese Communist Party. I have received an arrest warrant back in 2020 before. That's why I have normalized this level of tremendous stress over the last 2 to 3 years. But I wouldn't say this is something that is appropriate to do, because I believe that there are so many people in different communities, no matter whether it's Hong Kong communities, Tibetan communities, Uyghur communities, they may not be able to take that kind of burden or that kind of tremendous pressure from the Beijing regime. So that's why we must tackle the transnational repression thing. So today I would like to maybe try to identify 5 trends or ways that how the PRC is increasing their influence in the EU. As I've mentioned just now, transnational repression is one of their ways to silence the voices from different dissidents, as well as those MEPs or politicians who are supportive towards human rights and democracy. And then the second thing is about, misinformation campaign. We are seeing an increasing trend of misinformation campaign on different social medias like TikTok, Twitter, and so many different social media platforms. So that's why we must tackle it. On the other hand, we are also seeing a rise or a growth of fake journalists. And yesterday in the UK, there is a documentary being aired in which I got an encounter or experience or encountering with a fake journalist, claiming that he was from the US and maybe part of the Canada newspaper, try to get some kind of information regarding the Twin Cities campaign. So this is another examples of how far the Chinese Communist Party is willing to go. On the other hand, we have also increasing control over EU's critical infrastructure, like the ports in Greece. On the other hand, we are also facing economic coercion, just like how the PRC is treating Lithuania after they are showing support towards the Taiwan foreign ministry, as well as the Taiwan people. So these are the 5 ways or trends that how the China is increasing their influence over the EU policy. So in short, I would say that I would like to focus on how to tackle these kind of problems. And I would boil it down into 6 words. first of all, protect people. Second thing is, tackle infiltration. And the final thing is reduce dependency. Regarding the first thing, protect people, I will urge the European Parliament to investigate, to monitor and close all the secret police stations in Europe. Right now, we have identified at least 31 different police stations in different EU member states or EU major cities. And secondly, because we are aware that the Chinese government has imposed sanctions against different MEPs and EU entities, including individuals like MEPs or human rights defenders, I would urge the European Parliament to pass a motion, just like the UK Parliament, that banning all Chinese diplomats from entering the European Parliament unless the Chinese government lifts its sanction against those people. And then the second thing is about tackle infiltration. So there are lots of Confucius institutions being set up in different EU campuses. They are reporting to the Ministry of Education directly. These are open and public information. On the other hand, recently we are witnessing the so-called rise of China's Scholarship Council, which also require those people who receive the scholarship to report to the Chinese government. So this is something that we should look into, and these are the two, I would say, apparatus or instruments that the Chinese government is deploying to increase their influence in the EU. And the last thing is to reduce dependency. That means diversifying our supply chain, diversifying our trading relationships. Instead of relying on all of a single gigantic assertive trading partner that is the PRC, we should start looking into the possibility of moving our supply chain towards other countries. For example, maybe India. So this is the thing that we should look into. And one of the maybe concrete or key policy recommendation is that we should start looking into the AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Because just back maybe 2 to 3 months ago, there is a Canada national who is the Global Communications Director and official spokesperson of AIIB, just resigned it and flee to Japan. And they said, when he just said that the AIIB was dominated by the Chinese Communist Party members who operate as an in-house secret police. So right now we have around 19 out of 27 EU member states being part of the AIIB. So that's why I would urge different EU member states and as well as the European Parliament to start looking into AIIB and whether we should freeze our ties just like the Canadian counterparts. So these are the 3 concrete suggestions that I would like to raise, and I hope that one day we could train our maybe transnational repression into transnational resistance together. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Finn, for your statement and your recommendations. If I can now turn to Dawood Sering. He's the president of the Tibetan community in the Netherlands. Please use your time for your statement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank you for giving me the time to share about the experience I and other of Tibetan community in Europe have with intimidation and threats from China. Imagine your country is being invaded and you have to leave Tibet, leaving your parents behind, and now imagine moving across the world, starting a family, building a new life. Here you meet people who have the same roots and share a similar faith like you. And you start getting involved and you support your community in coming together and living the culture you and your parents have to leave behind. It feels like you found a little bit of home far away from home. Then suddenly you and your family members start receiving or disturbing phone calls in the language spoken by those who invaded your country. Whenever you are about to attend meetings that revolve around the topic of your home, and never the exact same calls, but always the same style. and the timing never falls. They are watching you, they know where you are and know where you are going. How does it feel? It is frightening, this I can tell you. This is my story, and the reality me, my family, and many other Tibetans have to live with. I was born in Tibet and had to flee the country in my 20s as life has become unbearable under China's oppression. It broke my heart, but I had to leave my parents behind. 7 years ago, I moved to Netherlands with my wife. We started a family and I got involved with the Tibetan community in Netherlands, which I now have the honor to be the president of. In the Netherlands, we are a community of about 1,200 Tibetans and come together to support and help each other and to organize culture and language activities for anyone interested, and similar Tibetan communities exist in countries all over the world. Although our activities are primarily of cultural nature, we always know that the China's Communist Party is not happy to see Tibetans coming together and organize amongst each other, but their presence was mainly felt when we, for instance, joined a Tibetan demonstration that was interrupted by CCP supporters who would shout and try to take pictures and videos all of us. In 2020, however, something changed. My family members and other Tibetans from our community started receiving disturbing calls. And the first call was received, caused a lot of confusion. A message was left on my mailbox that I should come to China's embassy. An important document was waiting for me there. If I do not come, so the message, it will be distorted, which could hold negative consequences. And meanwhile, my family members also received similar messages. It all seemed very suspicious to us, as nobody expected to receive any documents from the Chinese embassy. We did not go until this day. I'm still wondering what would have happened if any of us went there. Since then, the calls have not stopped, and they are usually not the same, but different slightly from each other. Sometimes a phone call comes from a person, but mostly an automated message is played when I pick up the phone, or if not, it is left on my voicemail. Sometimes a Dutch number is shown, I can say most of the time, and sometimes